false memories. It all really began in the 1980s when mostly young women were going into therapy with various problems, depression, sexual problems, relationship problems, etc. Going into therapy, explaining their symptoms and being told by clinicians and well-meaning therapists that, oh, well, you know, probably what your problem is, that you were probably sexually abused as a child. And with the use of various suggestive techniques, women were coming out of therapy having developed false memories of unpleasant events that did not take place in their childhood. Now, there's things like multiple personality disorder. Again, we could argue whether or not multiple personality disorder actually exists or not. I tend to blame not only suggestive techniques in therapy, but I tend to blame the media a lot for this. You know, these awful films that suggest that these things are real. And there's never a skeptical voice there. The skeptic is always the deluded idiot. It's always the clinicians or the psychics who are the heroes of these things. So I blame films a lot. But by putting someone into a hypnotic state and using suggestive techniques, you simply open up the world of imagination. And if you make suggestions to them, they're there because they're vulnerable anyway. They've come to therapy, there's something wrong. They're desperately trying to find help. They're desperately trying to find a reason for, well, why their life is in a mess. So you suggest to them something, and in those that are vulnerable, those that are susceptible to hypnosis, the imagination runs wild, and up they come with these false memories. Now, the false memory debacle, as I said, it started late 80s. Inevitably, celebrities got involved in it, and I remember Oprah Winfrey coming out and saying that she was sexually abused, and for a while it seemed to be this fashion that people were coming up saying, oh yeah, I've got repressed memories of this, that and the other happening to me. People went to jail. If that's Russell Crowe for me again, tell him I'm busy, okay? He keeps ringing me, bloody nuisance. It became a fairly torrid debacle amongst psychologists, because on the one hand you had the clinicians and the therapists who were saying that these things are real, and on the other hand you had the memory researchers, you had the psychologists who were saying, no, this is just a product of suggestive techniques and vulnerability to memory biases. So it all got very, very nasty, to the point where it actually became known as the memory wars. Now, an armistice was signed some time ago, but in my mind it's a very uneasy peace, because there was some nasty case recently in Australia about a small cult of people who had developed these false memories, etc. So it's still out there. Now, I should mention that false memories are actually perfectly normal. We all have false memories. That's because most of us don't understand exactly what memory is. We do not have a video recorder in our heads that film our memories for us with perfect clarity, perfect accuracy. So all we have to do is flip through our memory bank, pick out the memory we want, and play it back with perfect accuracy. What we actually do is we reconstruct memories. So if I asked you all now to think back to your childhood and remember when you were really happy, you would all start to reconstruct memories based upon what you now know, based upon your knowledge and understanding of the world and of yourselves in it. So memory is a fluid, active process. It isn't rigid, it isn't reliable. See, I told you I'd go on for hours about memory.